I submit that the lack of a sense of fulfillment and wonder has been lost based on an old story. I was walking with Doc this morning in the jungle, and it reminded me of an old story that's been attributed, I think, mostly to Hindu tradition. Whether it's history or Hindu or simply timeless wisdom wrapped up in a story, it doesn't really matter, because it tells the truth about us and why we're off track. The story says there was once a time when every human being possessed superpowers. Now, power is a combination of imagination, creativity, love, forgiveness, dream, and the ability to become something greater than just our base instinct. But as humanity grew more fascinated in this legend with itself, self-centered, those gifts stopped serving each other in wisdom and started serving, drumroll, ego. Creativity became manipulation, knowledge became control, influence became domination, and of course the insatiable appetite for power and possession. Instead of something, these gifts to use to be of service to others. And the gods watched and finally said, if humanity continues like this, the greatest gift will become its greatest curse. So let's hide it. So they gathered together all these gods, and some of them said, let's hide the treasure on the highest mountain. Nah, they'll climb the mountain. Let's hide it in the deepest part of the sea. Nah, they'll find it. I know. Let's hide it among the stars. Nah, one day they'll reach the stars, and we have, right? Finally, the big boss, the creator, smiled and he said, I know. Let's hide it inside every human being, this power to transform. And they'll spend the rest of history searching elsewhere before they even think to look in there. Now, sometimes I imagine they're up there still chuckling, because thousands of years later, we're still doing exactly what they expected us to do. Every generation becomes convinced the treasure is somewhere outside, somewhere else. A new philosophy, a new spiritual movement, a new guru, okay? A new invention and new technology. Every generation announces, this is the thing that's going to change everything. Today, it's artificial intelligence. Now, don't misunderstand. I'm not here to beat up AI. AI is extraordinary, one of the most remarkable tools humanity's ever created, but has it made us more human? Technology changes what we can do, but only consciousness changes who we become. AI can write a poem, but it'll never be able to know what it's like to write your first books and wonder if anybody will read them, to know that feeling. It can generate recipes in seconds, but it will never smile when you change one ingredient and someone you love says, oh my gosh, Harry, this is the best you've ever made this. It can explain every color at sunset, the wavelength, every law of physics behind the ocean, but it'll never know or be able to convey what a little girl feels when she grabs a seashell, absolutely convinced she's found buried treasure and is enraptured with wonder. One understands chemistry of wonder, but the other one actually experiences wonder. And that's what we're here for. See, life isn't measured by computation. That's the trap. It's measured by the meaning from experience. Maybe that's what the gods were protecting, not our intelligence, but our humanity. We're here to experience life, okay? Every false idol makes the same promise. What you're searching for is somewhere outside yourself. That's bullshit. Every spiritual tradition, every awakened teacher, Buddha, the Christ, Plato, Socrates, every wise person has pointed exactly the opposite direction. The treasure is within. Look at us. We've conquered outer space, but we've neglected the space in our heart and our head. We've accumulated more stuff, more possessions, but somehow we've lost sight of our values. We've gathered more information than any civilization in history. Yet wisdom and service becomes more and more rare. Doesn't that strike you as strange? Maybe that's why the gods hid the treasure in us, not because it was impossible to find, but because mastering the world is much easier than, at least for me, mastering ourselves. Because it's easier to build a better machine, gather more information, and accumulate more possessions than it is to what? Shh, quiet down ego and awaken wisdom and discover the immense transformative power hidden in every human being, waiting to be used for something greater than ourselves. Imagine if we spent as much time cultivating courage as we do spend building technology, as much time developing character, think about that, as developing software, and as much energy awakening this great gift imagination as we spend optimizing algorithms. How different your world, my world could be. Maybe that's a future worth building. I think it is. Not smarter machines, but more experienced and wiser human beings. Not faster answers, but deeper, better questions. And certainly not more AI, but more awakened people that won't find that awakening in AI. Maybe we've misunderstood the story all along. The gods didn't hide gold. They didn't hide knowledge. And they didn't hide power. They hid the greatest force available to every human being, the ability to transform ourselves, to experience more, to become more than our fear, more than our conditioning, and much more than our ego. Because a person who discovers that treasure doesn't just change their life, they change the lives of everybody they touch, unconsciously given permission to do the same thing. The treasure was never lost, only our attention was. And perhaps the gods, they're still laughing, right? Patiently waiting for humanity to stop searching every mountain, every ocean, every freaking machine, and finally discover the immense transformative power that they hid inside us all along. I think you're ready to begin that journey with me. So follow along. I don't think we're here to simply build a smarter world. I think we're here to experience life and share our feelings about those experiences with each other, with something, that's driven by our heart and our care for other human beings, and something that a machine is just never going to be able to convey. Peace be the journey. Me and Doc, we're on our way back to the jungle.